Okay, if you all agree, we will go on. So let's start just with the quick overview of our moderators. So I am Polona. I'm ENGSO and ENGSO Youth Communication Officer. With me here also is Alicia. So Alicia, please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Alessia De Julis, ENGSO Project Coordinator and ENGSO Youth Committee meeting member. And welcome, everyone. I will speak today about change, but a bit later on time. So I'll see you later.
Thank you, Alicia. And later on, we will be also joined by Marisa Schlinker from SandSI organization. Just a quick daily overview of today's program. So we will start with waste management at major sport events with Maxime Chusseau from SandSI Sport and Sustainability International. Then we will continue with green events in grassroots sport with Valentin Dupona, ENGSO Youth Committee member. And then we'll go into a quick presentation of both projects, that is Move for Nature and Change. And let's go straight into the webinar. I would kindly ask ENGSO Youth Vice Chair and Committee Member Erik van Haren to say a few words.
Thank you, Polena, and welcome you all on this very good and in the Netherlands pretty cold morning. Hope you all are starting your day very well, and thanks for joining all in this interesting webinar. My name is Erik van Haren. Vice Chair of ENGSO Youth, and I'm the honor to speak a few little words to you before the real experts are coming on the floor. Something that I actually want to share with you is a personal note about sustainability, and the reason why I think this webinar, but also this topic, is one of the most important topics what we have to work on nowadays. As you already can guess, because of my last name and because of the place that I just mentioned, I'm Dutch. I'm from the Netherlands, and in the Netherlands we really like sports, and we really believe in the strength of sports. In the Netherlands, there are, I would say, three great ways to become legendary in sports. That's by scoring the decisive goal in the final of the FIFA World Cup football, by winning the yellow jersey in the Tour de France, or by winning a very important skate competition, ice skating competition in the Netherlands, the 11 City Tours. And I think most of you never heard of the 11 Cities Tours, but actually it's one of the most important and glorious events in the Netherlands. It's a tour of 200 kilometers skating outside over the canals and the lakes in the north of the Netherlands. And it's every year a really big event if it happens, but that big if is serious over here, because the last time that it happened was in 1997. That also has to do because of course, climate change and other reasons, but I believe that climate change is in fact the biggest reason why this race did not happen after 97. This 11 Stedentocht, 11 Cities Tour, is very important for the Netherlands. It shows a lot of the Dutch culture, but also shows a lot of the Dutch sports culture. This is a race where not only high performance athletes come together to race, but also the grassroots sports, the amateur level, can join in this big glorious race. But for the Dutch, it's feeling more or less like Santa Claus with Christmas. Will it come? Will it not come? With the only change that the 11 city tours now already didn't come for many years. The Dutch are crazy about skating. The moment that it's starting to freeze outside in all of the Netherlands, people are measuring the layers of the ice, how thick it is, and they try to skate outside, not only in the north. Many people fall through the ice and because they just want to skate so badly. But this actually shows the passion for the Dutch in skating, especially this 11 cities tour. I really would like to happen it again, but unfortunately I'm a little bit pessimistic because of climate change. And I think it's therefore really important that we do something about it, that we are part of the solution and not the problem. And sometimes I mention myself, I get a little bit pessimistic about climate change. But on these days, I'm happy that we also can actually be part of concrete actions. And we will hear more about that today. We have some interesting speakers here. Yeah, please all join and stay in this webinar, because here you will get a little bit of this positivism again, and you actually see how you can change the world together with us. So thank you, Polona, for this moment, and I would love to give you the floor back.
Thank you very much, Eric. Thank you for your welcoming and opening words. And now I would like to pass the mic to Ursula Tolnai, who is a SandSI member of Board of Directors. Ursula, please.
Good and welcome to this webinar. Thank you for taking your time to be with us today. My name is Ursula Tolnai. I'm the member of the Board of Directors at Sport and Sustainability International. SandSI is a network of sustainability experts, and also a platform to share expertise and allow exchange between sport organizations and sustainability experts. And sorry, can you hear? Perfect. Now I see that.
Yes, we hear you well and good.
Okay, good. So sport and sustainability, our members, our experts, for example, contributed to the ISO 20021 Event Sustainability Management System, the UNFCCC Climate Action Framework for Sport, the French Presidency Expert Group on the future of sport events. Maxime can explain more about it later on. So our experts are contributing to sustainability in sports and through sports to accelerate it at top level. But of course, for us, grassroots level is just as important. That's why we are very pleased to be part of the Change Project and several other EU-funded projects where we could provide our expertise. And that's why I'm really happy to welcome you here on this webinar. And now I would like to introduce our first speaker, Maxime, and would also like to thank not only Maxime, but also Marisa from our side, and also ENGSO's colleagues that made this webinar possible. So Maxime started his career back in 2012 already as a working for a marketing agency for French Football Federation and in the National Rugby League. And he then later on discovered waste management and sustainability during the Euro 2016, where he coordinated the branding and signage for 10 stadiums and 40 training grounds. And then he really started to dive deep in this topic, and among others, conducted the sustainability of signages and branding in several events. But I'll let now Maxime introduce himself and what he did and give the floor to him as he's our first speaker. So thank you very much. I really hope you enjoy this one and a half hours with us.
Thank you a lot, Ursula. Can everybody hear me now? Yes?
Yes.
Perfect. Yes. Thanks for this introduction. Super happy to be here with you to talk about the waste management during sports events, which is always a massive issue, as you know. probably, but maybe before like starting getting like a bit deeper into those strategy, maybe it would be a good idea to come back to the basics. And you will see today, I don't know if you are working for major sports events, if you are interested in grassroots involvement at some point. As also I mentioned, I've done quite a few big events, like the Olympics in 2028, 2 Euros with UEFA, Rugby World Cup. But the processes we are setting up for these events are pretty much the same that the one you would do for a local football tournament or a wedding or whatever event. Pretty much it's always the same processes. That's the most important thing to say. And of course, after we can adjust the solutions and the concrete actions, but the processes are pretty much the same. But maybe before, I don't know if it's like something where we can discuss a bit together, but to not be the only one talking during 15 minutes. Maybe someone would like to jump into and to tell me what is the definition of waste, because I think it's important first to come back to that. Is there anyone brave enough to speak up?
I will then jump in first. I will. Or I haven't. For me, waste is anything that we don't need anymore. That is.
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty much a simple definition. Like anything in the end, like any substance, any object, or movable property which the holder in the end discards or intends to discard. And you have like plenty of definitions from the European Framework Directive, like 20 pretty much, from waste to hazardous waste to prevention, reuse, recycling, etc. The most important thing is to keep in mind is that basically you have to do something to get rid of this status of waste, and it needs basically to be valorized for that. Maybe some key figures about waste in the world, which is quite impressive, and this is why we have to work a bit more on that. On sports events, do you have any idea, for instance, of the number of kilos that could be generated by any fans or any spectator going to a stadium? Anyone?
I would say at least maybe a ton or a few tons.
Just per, if we say per person, like kilo per person, like someone coming to a stadium, someone coming to per person.
1 kilo?
Yeah, pretty much. It's in between 0.5 and 1.5 pending, but this is of course something quite important to keep in mind per participant. And so for the Super Bowl, for instance, there were like 40 tons of waste produced per annual game. And for instance, the production of one of the best football clubs in the Premier League, in the French Premier League, it's around 100 tons of waste per year. So it gives you a bit an idea of these massive events and what they can generate in terms of waste. I've worked on a few events already and a few webinar or workshop like this. And to explain to the people, the easiest, of course, was to first start to try to understand what will be the waste that we will generate. I don't know if I can share my screen right now, but I will try.
Okay.
Perfect. Can you see my screen right over here?
Yes, we see your screen.
Yeah, perfect. So basically, as you can see here, we try to organize those waste per category. And here you have pretty much all the waste that you could generate on any events, depending on the size. You have, of course, paper and cardboard.
Can you make it a bit bigger? Because it's
of course.
We cannot. Okay, thank you.
We can see your entire screen. And now, perfect.
Okay. Perfect. So you have paper and cardboards. You have, of course, the compostable waste, some glass waste, metal and aluminium, wood, textile, all things linked to uniform, for instance, signage, etc., carpets. Then you have all waste related to plastics, some stuff related to concrete, for instance, for big events like the Olympics, where we build some structures for TV, for instance. You have, of course, all the food waste, greenery waste, electric waste sometimes with batteries, etc. Some medical waste also, for instance, when you have like a anti-doping control or stuff like this, it's always like specific waste, and some other hazardous material like paint, glue, adhesive, etc., etc. So if I wanted to mention that before, it's because the first element to take into consideration is to know basically which kind of waste I'm going to generate on my event. Of course, you had here all the elements, but some of the events like the London Marathon or I don't know, the Tour de France or a football match is not going to generate the same exactly the same kind of waste. So first is to, of course, understand what will be generated during the event, and also keep in mind that and that's probably one of the most important figures, that only 20% of the waste is generated during the operational phase. It means that pretty much 75% of the waste is going to be generated before that, during the setting up phase and the dismantling phase. So, of course, those two moments of setting up the event and dismantling it are really, really important to consider in order to make sure that you find the proper strategy with the, I don't know, containers, depending on the material you have identified as potential waste. So that's the first thing to understand. And it's important when we mention also the topic of the spectators and fans coming to your events, because sometimes you don't know exactly what they will come with. And if you don't know the waste that will come on during your event, well, you are not able to prepare, to pick up the good containers, the good ways to then collect it and valorize it. So that's absolutely crucial. And to give you a really precise example right now, for the Olympics 2024 in Marseille, I've been working on the sustainability part for the first 6 months of this year. And right now, they are considering allowing the people, the fans, coming with food on the Olympic venues, which of course doesn't make super happy Coca-Cola and all the other sponsors. But it means that you are about to allow people to come on your Olympic venue and you don't know exactly what they will come for. So all the strategy we plan for 1.5 years about like knowing exactly what will come and preparing the specific logistics for that, and the end of life, of course, is now down, and we have to rebuild everything. So that's very important. Then another thing I wanted to mention, which is quite crucial for me to keep in mind, is basically a simple rule. As I said in the beginning, we have to go back to the basics when we work on that. I don't know if you can see my screen now. Yeah.
Yes.
Does anyone have already seen this kind of pyramid? Is it something that's ring a bell to you? Well, it's quite simple, as you can see, but if you can apply those principles, you will definitely reduce the number of waste during your event. The first one, absolutely the first, is to refuse, and to keep in mind that the best waste is the one that you don't produce. So refusing, meaning that you have to ask yourself the question, do we really need that? Does this department of media, TV, does really need these elements? And it's something quite tricky on the top international events, because you are always trying to do a bit more, and people are pretty much always the same, working for TV, media, etc. And they have been having this in the past, and now they are expecting to have this kind of the same service again. So asking this question is always tricky because it involves and it implies a really big change of mind, but it's always the most important thing to do first. So how can I, refuse to produce this and just come back to what's absolutely crucial and priorities? And of course, for massive sport events, all the TV parts, all the things that you can see on TV will always be important, from the players' arrival to around the ball and the pitch. But in this photographer's room, in these coach boxes, in this media conference room, do we really need to put that much signage, decoration, blah, blah, blah? That's something, of course, you have to ask. Does anyone have any idea of the quantity of material that will be produced for the Olympics? And it's pretty much the same kind of number for any Olympics. No one want to try? So it's about like 500,000 square meters of signage material to be produced, and it's only for setting up the stadium, the venues, etc. I'm not talking about the city dressing and all the elements that the cities will produce for that, and the training camps, etc., which is of course makes this number and amount even bigger. So that's the first part, to refuse. Second part is to reduce. Reduce is absolutely key. So how can we reduce basically the quantity of material that will get out from, I don't know, from the earth, pretty much? How can we reduce, for instance, some banners, some PVC elements you'll produce? How can I maybe reduce the weight of the material? It's always possible. How can I reduce after the packing stuff to send this material on site, and try to, again, as soon as we have identified what's absolutely crucial and we need to produce it, how we can reduce the quantity of material in it, and how we can reduce the plastic around, etc., etc. Is everyone following so far? Is that clear? Then, of course, after that, the most important thing, and it's always not easy for sustainability departments in big events, is to make sure that everything we have produced, we have a solution for the end of life. Could be reusing, could be recycling, but that's absolutely crucial. And just for you to know, even if it's not done this way, you can always find solution. For instance, for Euro 2016, I was sustainability champion in my department of signage. We were producing pretty much 30 tons of material for the Euro, for the branding of the 10 stadiums, 40 training grounds, side events, blah, blah, blah. And of course, I was not involved in picking up the material, so I didn't have the choice. The material sometimes came from Thailand, from Southeast Asia, and I didn't choose it. But working on the specs, on the technicalities of the product, we found solutions for like so many tons of product, like pretty much 27 tons of material, and I will show you this. And why I'm mentioning the reuse part before, it's because recycling, sometimes you can see that now, like it's one of the priority. Recycling is one of the worst solution. Keep that in mind. recycling is one of the worst solutions, because it has it does imply like some energy to recycle, plus all those products, all those elements you have prepared and produced for your event, they have inside their technicality could be used for so many different use and fields. I'll show you some examples right now. But for me, it's still crazy to think that those products that will be produced like 2 or 3 months before the event will have to be recycled like after 2, 3, 4 months of life, and then you try to recycle them while they could live for 20, 30, 40 years in construction work, for instance. So just to make this a bit more clear, let me please share again my screen with you guys. And to show you like kind of good example of what could be done with signage. So this is a report that has been done by our reuse partner for Euro 2016. Just for you to know, I used again the same partner for the Rugby World Cup 2023. I've just finished my contract a few weeks ago, and we have reused and collected 35 tons of material to be reused, and it will be pretty much the same kind of reuse here. So all the PVC banner, for instance, they are waterproof, and so you can use it, for instance, for roof protection, as you can see here. We also use that to create like massive bins for some construction work. We those waterproof also PVC banner, as you can see here, could be used for painting work, for instance. We had also this kind of banner, which was really specific kind of fabric for mix zone and all the media areas, and it has been used, as you can see here, the Euro branding to split the material, like the rocks and the sand, etc., for construction work. You can see here also here like someone using this kind of banner and then recovering it with rocks. We have been also able to use this kind of material to protect some elements in agriculture. I don't know how to say it in English. I'm sorry for that. Yeah, so just keeping in mind that all these elements you will produce could be used for many other aspects. What could I say more to you? Well, after this reuse part, of course, you have the recycling one. So all the elements we didn't find solution for reuse, we try to recycle them. And then, of course, the last point is return to earth. Regarding the recycling part, the tricky thing is sometimes you think that you're a big event, and so it's going to be kind of easy. But keep in mind that you are always small. Even the Olympics are small. When you were talking about 500,000 square meters, yes, it's cool. Yes, it's a big quantity, but no one is going to create in the country like an industrial recycling strategy just for the Olympics. Like when you create this kind of recycling elements, you have to give to the industrials like a long-term vision for 2, 3, 4 years, and sometimes, as you know, the events are quite short-term. So there is still a good example in France for the textile of the event, and you can see how it involves many stakeholders on a specific territory. But Doublet, which is like a famous signage producer and flags producer in France, and that basically has won the Olympic contract for the signage. So they will produce the 500,000 square meters with CSM, an English company. They have created like an industrial recycling, how do we say, plant industry for the textile, because they are located in the north of France, and north of France have a long history of producing textile like clothes, And so with many partners around, they've created this, and they will include the textile of their events within this industrial way. But yeah, it's not always simple to find good recycling solutions. And most of the time, the recycling solutions you will see are more like downcycling. Downcycling is like you won't produce the same kind of quality of material that you had before. So basically you, for instance, for PVC banner, you put them to burn, and then you recreate some plastic elements with it, but it's not going to be as noble as the first material you had, which we call downcycling. And then the return to earth, it's also something quite important today, especially for the composting, for the food and the waste we have around this. But pretty much what you have to keep in mind for this part, and then I will give the micro back because it's already super long, and I hope you have some questions after. Of course, I can go a bit more into details, but we have to keep in mind that this whole strategy involve like a big change of the mentalities. We have to get rid of the model which is cleaning, emptying, and sending away the waste, to collect, sort, and valorize. So that's the most important part to keep in mind.
We have a question for you if you're ready to take them.
Of course, but as you said, how do you oblige, or maybe I would say involve the sponsors or an organizer to make objects or material reusable? Well, actually, that's a really good question because, as you know, of course, you can't always deal last minute. Still, you can manage it. For instance, for the Rugby World Cup, I realized, which was in France, I realized that it's going to be crazy for you. No containers, no waste collection was planned for the setup and the dismantling part. So basically, we had like 2 or 3 massive containers, and everyone was supposed to put their waste inside, which is crazy for me. So last minute, I organized this kind of collect and sorting, which is not easy, but you can always do it last minute. Of course, as you mentioned, Hélène, the best is to plan this in advance. And I've been lucky enough to work for the Olympic Committee of Paris 2024 3 years ago, before they put the bid and the tenders. And we tried to work together on how we could put within the tenders all the sustainability elements to make sure that we won't get a lot of waste in the end. And so we said that this material, for instance, PVC, for instance, vinyl, for instance, all this one-shot material, we would try to get rid of them, so we don't want them in the offer. And try basically, of course, to, within the offer, to explain that we wanted to have like at least 80% of valorization. So basically, the supplier which has won the tender is committed now to at least collect, sort, and valorize 80% of the waste. So we'll see. I'm working currently with them, so we'll see if it's more like reuse or recycle. I think the Olympic Committee of Paris said recycling, so they didn't push too much, but 80% it's already like a lot. It has never been seen before. So it can be done even by a big event. I don't know if it answers your questions, Danilo. But basically, yeah, it's always a topic of the tenders and the contracts you sign. It's the same with the sponsors. If they do like some side events, you have to make sure that they do it in a clean way, in a sustainable way, and you have to make them sign like a charter or an organizational way of working to make sure that in the end, all the events related to your events will be as sustainable as possible.
Another question for you, Maxime. How do you compare and value the ecological impact of different signage options? Most signage today are oil-based plastic, which are often linked with shedding microplastic into nature.
Sorry, I'm just reading it again. Well, actually, there is some work that has been done. So you have a lot of things written on that. I could share also like something that we have produced for the Olympic Committee, which is basically giving you like a note with a color code of each material of signage. I don't know if I can find it quite quickly. But yeah, would be lovely to show it with you through, and I can of course share the link after with you. I think I got it. Let me quickly share my screen up. Can you see it now?
Yes.
So as you can see, this guy is named Communication Vision vers des supports plus durables. So it's all about communication, how we make it more sustainable. And you have like many elements with first the questions you have to ask yourself. And it's going far, like it's also going until the design part, which is important for the reuse. I've been working with the agency W, creating the branding and the graphical charter of Paris 2024. And we were talking about how we could make sure that we reduce the number of losing material. For instance, when you talk about fence dressing, it's basically around the stadium, you have the security perimeter or around the venue, and then you have to cover those parts for security reason. So it doesn't allow people to give tickets or to get I don't know, weapons or any forbidden elements within the venue. And the linear are not always perfect. So you always have to cut here and there. And if you put like a lot of branding elements, a lot of IP logos, etc., you won't be able to cut, and you will have to lose like a lot of material. So all this design part is really important. We also thought about, for instance, producing on one side the Olympic branding, and on the other side the Paralympic branding, because it will come right after. So yeah, all this design part is always important. Then you have all questions about the products. Can we maximize the paper and cardboard products, which are the easiest to reuse and recycle? We've been removing the PVC and vinyl, etc., etc. Then it goes to the ink and the way we produced it. Are we using vegetal ink? Is the supplier labelized regarding the production way of working? Then have we thought about the second life, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, in this document you have plenty of elements. Today it's free, so you can definitely use it. And in these documents, as you can see, we have done this study of basically the best material in terms of recyclability. So you can see the green one we can easily recycle, and the red one it's more complicated. But it's always a tricky topic, to be honest with you. If you get into the details, for instance, aluminium is one of the best examples because it's perfect to recycle. It's really easy. But when it comes to production, so basically, if you can rent some structures in aluminium, perfect, do it. Aluminium is perfect, very easy to recycle. But if you have to produce some structures in aluminium, then the global carbon footprint of that is absolutely awful, because to produce aluminium, you have to produce, to get 1 ton of aluminium, you need to produce like, you need to how do you say it in English? You need to heat, to make in the oven like 3 tons of bauxite, and make it super hot, like really a lot of degrees. It's it's really it's a lot of pollution. So yeah, it's always of course also a question of existing material renting regarding this. And of course, as you can see, the PVC and vinyl are always the worst because you can't do anything. And yeah, despite these things we know, sometimes you arrive on an event and there are still some crazy things. Just to finish on one example, for Euro 2016, as I said, we found solution for 27 tons of material. But when I arrived for Euro 2020, I was a science manager in Bucharest, and my whole stadium was branded with vinyl. Like all the pitch perimeter, like 2 meters vinyl for, I don't know, 500 meters or something. And this, you can't do anything about it, and nothing was planned. So yeah, that's not always easy.
Okay, thank you very much, Maxime. We have lots of questions too, but we are really tight on time as we have other speakers. So I suggest that we collect all the questions from the chat and maybe send them to you by email if you would be willing to answer them, and then we can publish them on Change website, because I think this topic is super, super interesting. And it was a great presentation and so much knowledge that you shared, and we are really thankful. Maybe just one quick question. Do you have those resources in English as well? And if so, where can we find them?
Yes, I can definitely share the link with you afterwards, no problem. And I also remain available, as you know, I have my name on LinkedIn. If you have like specific questions or details, we'll be always happy to help and share the few things I've been learning over the past few years.
Thank you very much. You can also paste the link into the chat if our participants are interested. But thank you very much also to Ursulia for joining us today. And now I would like to welcome Valentin Dupona, ENGSO Youth Committee member from Sport Austria, who will present the green events in grassroots sport. So initiative and good practices that Sport Austria is doing with their members. So Valentin, please.
So guys, yes, can you hear me?
Yes, and we also see the presentation. Perfect, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So hello everyone. Today I have the honor to tell you a little bit about green events in grassroots sports and what we do in Austria to support our clubs and also associations. First of all, I want to introduce myself and what I'm doing. I'm Valentin, 26, from Salzburg in Austria. And yeah, professionally, I'm the managing director of the largest sports center in the city of Salzburg with nearly 300,000 annual users. And further, I manage projects for one of our three umbrella organizations, the Sport Union. Since this year, I'm member of ENGSO Youth Committee as a representative of Sport Austria. And yeah, that's why I'm here today. And in all my professional activities, I think I try to actively promote sustainability, whether it's expanding like the infrastructure at our large sports center, at events that our clubs organize, or also within ENGSO Youth, because I think it's such an important topic, and I'm glad to tell you today something about this green event team. I have divided my presentation a little bit because first I will give you a brief insight into the structure of Sport Austria, because it's not the typical sports structure which we have in Austria. Then we will start, I think, right into the topic of green events. And I would like to show you how they combine a little bit all the three pillars of sustainability, and also how they like contribute to a more sustainable tomorrow. That's the aim of all our, that's our goal, I think, all the time. Then I will quickly present you some initiatives we have in Austria, which support the organization of green events. these are like initiatives for clubs and for also associations to go green, I think. Yeah, and finally, because I told you I will give you some best practices, I chose 2 events that show that it is often easier than expected to organize an event, yeah, like sustainably, and I hope that I can dispel the fears, yeah, that green events are always associated with enormous additional effort, and what you hear, like, always, I mean, what I always hear is like it's there's such high costs and everything. And I think, yeah, I try to give you examples how it can be done easy. And in advance, I would like to say that every small change towards sustainability is a step in the right direction. So I think you don't have to do the big steps, and just plan small steps and go through them, and then you can, yeah, like put more steps into your project. About Sport Austria, the Austrian Sports Organization is like a non-profit institution. We represent the interests of sports both in Austria and also in the international organizations like in ENGSO Youth or also in ENGSO. And yeah, in Austria, we are like Sport Austria is like the central platform for coordination and consultation within the Austrian sports system. We have 3, that's the not typical system I told you before. We have in Austria 3 federal sports umbrella associations, and then the other members of Sports Austria are 61 federal sports associations, like Ski Austria, if you think about the big ones. And also the Austrian Olympic Committee and the Paralympic Committee, etc., are like members of Sports Austria. Then it is like all Sport Austria works closely to the ministry or to the ministries of sport, for example, or of climate action, but also the big federal sports umbrella associations, they work closely with Sport Austria and with the Ministry of Sport to take the next step. Yeah, I think now you heard enough about our structure in Austria, and we can directly go into the topic of green events and why I think that green events in grassroots sports combine all dimensions of sustainability, or we try to combine them in Austria with our initiatives. In Austria, we have, yeah, like thousands of sporting events taking place every year, from the smaller club meetings to major international events. And they all offer, yeah, I think, unique experience for both spectators and athletes. And the whole sport is so big that I think we can be a role model. Then if you think about sustainable organization of sporting events, it includes like all the 3 pillars of sustainability. So all initiatives try to include environmental responsibility, social equality, economic efficiency, while also helping like to raise awareness of sustainable lifestyles. And the organization of a green event in grassroots sports integrates all those 3 dimensions. So you have to set your measures to integrate all these 3 dimensions. In Austria, with Sport Austria, we try to support our members, and we do have Julia Hauch in the team since this year, and she is a sustainability manager for Sport Austria, or for our associations, clubs. She tries to help them to to go the green step. And that's, I think, a quite unique, or not unique, but it's very important to have a person like Julia in the office helping all our associations and their clubs. To move on, I want to show you how green events in grassroots sport contribute to a sustainable tomorrow. And yeah, I have, I think, 7 points here. Green events first provide a platform. So they raise awareness among participants, spectators, and the community about sustainable practices. And yeah, I think that's a quite a good, the top point. We want to raise awareness with organizing green events. And then these events prioritize the conservation of natural resources by implementing measures such as the use of reusable dishware and effective waste segregation. While doing this, this leads to reduce resource consumption and also a smaller ecological footprint for the event. Then the sustainable events enhance the image of organizers, and also the participants. And if you think of organizers, and also about companies, I think it's very important to see the chances we have today, because all the companies, they try to find partnerships that fit to their sustainability strategies. And I think the sports sector is a very, very, very big sector to help companies to go the green step. And when I say the green step, I don't talk about like greenwashing. I think we all know about that one, and it's like a complicated point, because you need a sustainability strategy to be modern, but you don't have to implement measures exactly, I think, or they don't do it. So I think as a sport, it's important for us to have clear rules with which sponsors we want to work together, which partnerships we want to do. And yeah, last, I think green events on this slide offer an opportunity to implement concrete actions that contribute to achieving the sustainable development goals. I think everyone knows them or will know them in the next year if you don't know them already. And yeah, they enable the integration of creative, sustainable ideas into sports events, directly contributing to this global sustainability agenda. Yes. In Austria, we have 2 major initiatives that are committed to promoting sustainable sporting events. First, the Austrian eco-label for green events and green meetings. And second, the Green Event Austria network, which is like, yeah, not that hard to get as it is with the Austrian eco-label. With the eco-label for green events and green meetings in Austria, clubs and associations have the opportunity to have their own sports event certified. It's like an official certification, and this certification is subject to strict guidelines, and implementation is assessed using also a point system. So that's not the easy way. I think if you get awarded with the Austrian eco-label, you are really an expert in what you are working on. So it has to be said that this certification, or the certification with the eco-label, is pretty hard, I think, for small sport clubs, but we always have some clubs that tell us they want to do it and they want to go for that step. And yeah, that's I think pretty cool. But if you compare it to the Green Events Austria network, it's pretty much harder. The Green Events Austria network is nationwide, but does not carry out certifications with one label per federal state. It awards a rating, and each federal state is guided by the minimum requirements defined by that network. So if you look on the map here, that's small Austria, and we have initiatives in all our 9 states, but they are different. And also the measures, they vary from state to state, but which is important, and I will explain that one on the next 2 slides, is that there are these minimum requirements every event has to fulfill to be rewarded as green event. And these minimum requirements are, I think we are here at the point I tell you that every sports club can, and also every association can try to push their members, to push everyone involved to go green, to do the first small steps. And these are the requirements. I will just go through them. First, they encourage participants to environmental friendly transportation options to the event or from the sports event. So that means this could involve bus transportation or public transportation, carpooling, cycling, or walking. And what is important is that you always have to inform the spectators, the participants. That's, I think, a pretty, the most important thing to show your community what you are working on. Second, emphasizing the importance of serving seasonal, locally sourced and organic or even fair trade food at the event. So that means that we in Austria try to have the catering from regional sources, or even fair trade food. If you think on bananas, we don't have them in snowy Austria, in snowy Austria, but you can go, you're meant to have fair trade food then at the event. The third requirement is promoting minimal resource use. So focusing on reducing resource consumption throughout the event, emphasizing the efficient use of materials and suppliers to minimize the waste generation. And then with waste, also what we heard before, sorry. The waste recycling is to implement waste sorting. That's often, we saw it often in Austria that the sports infrastructure is not used to that, because if you think on a big sorry, I have to just turn that one off. If you think of a big soccer fields or even a basketball court, you always have these 1 bins, and you don't waste, you don't sort the waste. So for a green event, it's important to sort your waste and to build the infrastructure to make it possible. The last 3 requirements are the following. Resource conservation. It means to encourage responsible use of resources like water, electricity, and heat, aiming for minimal consumption. That means you tell your participants, spectators, with you can have signs, everything, like use water, not that much. Use water, use electricity responsibly. It's like to raise the awareness for that. The sixth point is the social responsibility. Your event should be accessible for participants with disabilities. In Austria, that point can be tricky for some organizers. If you think of ski races or something, how can you make it possible to have people in a wheelchair participating? So these are like things you think as an organizer before. And the last requirement is that you, I think in every state, I'm in Austria, I'm pretty sure, that you always have to actively communicate the steps taken. So when you make the decision to do a green event, you start communicating it to all your partners, to your participants, spectators, and also to your in Austria Green Event Network. I hope that's understandable. If you think on the Austrian map, you have your partner. I'm from Salzburg, so it's Green Event Salzburg, and these are our partners in Salzburg. These requirements, they serve in the Green Events Austrian network, not in the Eco-label, but in the Green Events Austrian network. They serve as guidelines, and you try to fulfill these guidelines. And I think if you see them here, these 7 guidelines can be hard for someone, but and I want to show it later, if you go like deeper into the topic, you will realize that it's not that hard often to implement measures. So that's why I want to show you 2 good practices from our members. The first one, the Transport Festival in Salzburg, actually was organized at our sports center, and I was doing the whole sustainability green event plan for this event. So I thought this would be a great example to show you that it's not that hard if you have like an infrastructure that works out. So that's, I think, our big benefit. We have a good infrastructure, and we can do events as green events pretty easy because of our infrastructure. That's one important point I think I have to mention. The Transport Festival in total had 750 participants. It's a 1-day event, and the planning is like for 6 months. I think we plan as a team. And also the Transport Festival in cooperation with Sport Union, with one of the 3 federal associations, take place in all 9 federal states in Austria. So altogether there are 5,000 students participating at Transport Festival. If you think of the measures I explained or the requirements earlier, I want now to go deeper into the topic. So at our event, firstly, we encouraged the participants, including school classes and sport clubs. We had 750 participants in total, to opt for eco-friendly transportation. That's the first step. We told them, please come with public transportation to the sports center, use that bus, use that train. Not a hard measure for, on the organization side, I think. When it came to catering, we sourced everything from local providers. And I tell you that it's not the expensive way to do it with local providers, because when we started to do green events, it was like, no, there are such high costs with these providers, but now we know these providers, they want to be your partner, they want to present themselves, and also it's I think today it's pretty modern and important to have food and beverages from regional suppliers. For instance, our fruits, we had bananas as well, just because kids love bananas and they were fair trade, but all the other fruits were from a local provider, and everything from Austria, as well as pretzels. We had pretzels for them and juices to drink, everything from small or big farms near Salzburg. To minimize the single-use plastic, we provided water in large containers. I think you will see a picture. Yes, you will see a picture in 2 slides. And told the participants to bring their own reusable bottles. So that's something you think, when I think back 4 years, we provided everyone with a plastic bottle of water. Now we told them, just bring your bottle and you can refill it. So for us, it was such an easy measure to implement. And yeah, to manage waste effectively, we had the problem that at our infrastructure, we have these 1 bins. We had them, now we have other ones. Yeah, and then we organized the different bins to manage waste effectively. And then, yeah, I think to manage waste, we hit from Maxime before as well. But what we saw is that if you have signs and something, you guide the participants to manage the waste. So that's a pretty cool thing. We just placed a Green Event Austria or Green Event Salzburg sign behind the waste, and yeah, they managed it so good. All the children managed it perfectly, so that was pretty cool. Yeah, regarding decorations and giveaways, we sourced our sponsors and partners. Yeah, we sourced materials from our sponsors and partners, and we specifically informed all our partners that we have a green event, that it will be a green event, and we don't want them to provide any coaches or participants with single-use items. So that was a strict rule, that we don't want to have single-use items as a giveaways or something. And yeah, it was like they looked at us, and first it was not common to them, but then they were like, oh, that's cool, we also do have a sustainable strategy. So yeah, but it's a company, and often they don't really work on these measures. And as well, last point, accessibility was a top priority. We invited children with special needs. We invited whole classes with special needs. So it was for us pretty clear that the entire venue and all our sport program has to be adapted also for people with special needs or with disabilities. Here you can see the girls with their own bottles, our refilling stations where we always put fruits and vegetables into it, that it has like a little bit of a taste. And here the freshly delivered bananas, as I told you, but apples from our region. So that's pretty cool, I think. The second event is the Flying Unicorn Cup Kundl. It's organized by a small amateur club the Insiders Tyrol, they do this event since 2018. And they, which is pretty cool, I think, they do it as a green event since 2018. So they are pretty much experts. To compare it to our events, I think some of the points are pretty similar, but as you heard before, now we don't talk about, we talk about other state. So they have like similar but different requirements. So for mobility, the attendants were encouraged to opt for eco-friendly public transportation, as well as it was at our event. But they had like a cool thing. They organized offers, a 10 euro offer at the entry fees if they showed, if the spectators or participants could show them that they came with public transportation, with bus, train, or electric car. For the catering, they only serve vegetarian and vegan dishes, which is really, really cool. And products like baked goods, vegetables, and beverages were sourced solely from local producers. Then you have like products like coffee. It's like a non-regional item, and they acquired it through fair trade channels. For waste prevention, they also had reusable plastic cups, dishes, nothing for single use. I think that should be pretty clear if you organize an green event. Yes. Then for the resource conservation, the municipality of Kundl involved since I think 2011 in the E5 program, sourced 100% hydroelectric power. So that's the energy part done for the organization team. So just talk to your city, to your municipality, and ask them how it's done. Then they had signs in changing rooms and sanitary facilities, just to show the visitors, and I think that's so important, I mentioned it before, that they should think about how much water they use, how much just to think about, do I need that much energy now? Do I need that much water? So and I can tell you, all participants, they start thinking if they see a clear sign before in front of them. And in advance, like mentioned before, they informed everything was like done by online information. They educated the visitors about the available accessibility features. So they even had contact details, which with numbers for any questions in the accessibility topic. So that's pretty cool. And also they had fair trade giveaways, vegan condoms and organic soaps. So I think they are pretty much experts right now. And for the communication, that's something I want to show you. If you have the green event certification here in Austria, you always have to have the logo on every like banners, posters, info emails, invitations, which I think is pretty cool, and also modern. So don't be shy to organize events like that. I think that's pretty much it from my side. That it was I think it was a lot, but I just wanted to show you that if you think about concrete measures and easy measures, it's most of the time not that hard to implement them. Yes, you have to have your infrastructure ready. You have to have the people to organize these measures, to do it, to take that step. But I think to start with easy measures is key, and then yeah, you can go further and further and do like, yeah, make the sport, the grassroots sports, a little bit greener. That's it from my side. If you have questions, please feel free to contact me or also Julia from Sport Austria, and we will help you as soon as we can. So I think that's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Valentin, for this in-depth presentation. So I don't see any questions at the moment, but if anyone has a question, please do let us know, or just simply write it in the chat and we will check it afterwards and then send it to Valentin and Julia for answering. But thank you very much for this presentation. So we are very tight on time. That's why I will speed up into the next presentation, which is the Move for Nature project. This will be a very brief and quick presentation, but let's start with a bit of an engagement from you, the participants. So you see a question: how much waste is produced by the average European each year? And please answer with the smileys and the emojis you have in Zoom. And Alicia, I kindly ask you for help because I cannot see the reactions. If you please let me know what's the most popular answer.
Okay, so you have some thumbs up, some wow faces. I would say it's really same number of thumbs up and wow faces.
Well,
no one is farting.
So the ones who answered with the wow face, you were correct. It's 5 tons, and you can read more in the link I pasted in the presentation, but which I can also later paste in the chat. I know a lot, 5 tons is a lot when you think about it, but we have to face the reality. And a red alarm that you see on this slide, it's a reality for us. So again, I'm Polona, and I come from Slovenia, the Alpine part, where we have the mountains, and red alarm has been very common this summer, declared by the state. And that includes the day of the final conference for the Move for Nature project. So the conference was hosted in my part, in the Alpine part, and we were trying to organize almost a zero waste event. But at the event, we had to instruct the participants, please drink the water from plastic bottles. And that was because just before the final event, the municipality warned us that the water today, due to landslides, is not drinkable, and the state officially declared the red alarm for the amount of the rain and the danger of flooding. So we faced a very harsh reminder of how important climate action and environmental protection is, not just for Slovenia, but I would say worldwide. And Move for Nature does just that. It uses outdoor sports, particularly hiking, for education of young people. This was also the goal of this project, as you can read on this slide. And the kids that you see waving and the coach facilitator on the picture are from Romania, one of the partners of this project. So this project is co-funded by the European Union. It's a small collaborative Erasmus project that is coordinated by my local organization Impact, and includes ENGSO-Youth as one of the partners. So ENGSO-Youth is the European sport umbrella that served for dissemination, communication, and expert in this project. And then we also had 2 grassroots sports organizations as partners. One is Centar Veriga from Slovenia, so my local area, and the other one is Sport for All Association Suceava from Romania. And because we really believe in partnership, we teamed up with different experts from outside of sport as well, who helped us with expert content that includes the interviews and the toolkit we developed. So the first one was more outdoor from Scotland. We had Emily Bovey, who is an expert in inclusivity and outdoor leadership, and she's also the author of the Move for Nature toolkit. Then we had Hugo Ferreira from Youth Engaged in Wetlands. We called him an expert on wildlife. And we also partner up with Institute for Water of the Republic of Slovenia with Stefan Terdan and Uroš Rabic, because they coordinated the very, very good project Plastic Pirates in Slovenia that I would like to encourage to check it out as well. And on this page, I also added Sport for All Association Suceava, Mihai and Anka, because they are both physical education teachers. So they contribute with their knowledge on, well, very honestly, how to work and motivate the teenagers to do a cleanup action. So I will quickly present the results of this project. The goal was to, among other stuff, organize Move for Nature hikes. And Move for Nature hike is not just a hike, it's a hike with the cleanup action. So at the end, through 8 different Move for Nature hikes and 1 hackathon, we engaged 374 participants, and around almost 90% of them were young people, mostly teenagers and kids. And those hikes were organized in 2 different countries, that is Romania and Slovenia. We had 2 sport clubs that organized the hikes. So one is Center Veriga, who organized it in Slovenia, and the other one is already mentioned Association for Sport for All Suceava, that organized hikes in Romania with the help of 2 primary schools. And then additionally in Slovenia, we had 2 other primary schools joining us that were coordinated by the Institute Impact, and that was the primary school Žalec and primary school Grm. Besides the local actions, the cleanup hikes, we also developed a toolkit which consists of 4 different parts. I already mentioned that the author is Emily Bovey from More Outdoor, and you can scan the QR code to see the toolkit. It's available on our website. And beside that, we also made a collection of good practices of already existing good projects and initiatives, and added, we filmed interviews with the experts that I mentioned before. So all of that is available on our website that you can get to by scanning this QR code, but I will also share it at the end. And this toolkit includes different instruction, tips, description on how to, why should we hike and why hiking is a good education, how can we move for nature, and also how to motivate the teenagers or organize a Move for Nature cleanup hike. I will be really quick, so I just would like to show you some photography and actual proof that we did the cleanup actions. So this is the Association for Sport for All Suceava from Romania. They, besides the young people, they also invited their parents or grandparents. They included also some local elderly people, and they organized 3 different hikes in the mountains of Romania, as you can see them on the photo. Then this is the team photo of the Center Veriga, which is a local grassroots sport club from Lesce. This is the alpine part of Slovenia, as mentioned before. They were mostly working with their members as well, who are young people, so teenagers and younger kids, but quite often they also invited their parents to join. They were very happy to do the Move for Nature cleanup actions, but even more happy because at the end they got rewarded by an ice cream. That was a very important motivating factor that I have to mention. Then we were really, really happy that the primary school Žalec also joined us. They actually engaged more than 100 kids into the Move for Nature cleanup action. So we were very, very happy and thrilled about that. And the second primary school that joined us, that was primary school Grm. they managed to engage 90 people, mostly young kids again. So we were thrilled to see this response from local actions. I think that proves that young people and kids are interested in climate action, and that this way of educating youngsters through sports, specifically outdoor sports and hiking, it's very, very efficient and very important. I also added the photo from the final conference, which took place at the end of October, on 28th of October to be exact, in Jesenice, Slovenia. This is another town from the Alpine region of Slovenia. And despite the red alarm we had on that day, we were all very happy to take part in this conference. So as promised, I was very, very quick because we have another presentation on the menu today, but I would just like to thank you for the intention. And if you have any questions, please do let me know in the chat, or just raise your hand, or you can also email us. And on this last slide, you find the URL to the website of the Move for Nature project. And I would also like to encourage you to follow us on Facebook or Instagram and scan the QR code to get the toolkit and all the materials we have developed. So thank you very much. If anyone has a question, please let me know. But otherwise, I will pass the word to Alicia and Nikki to also present the Change project.
Thank you, Polona. Great project. I'm actually wearing the socks from that project, so I always have them with me. So for the last presentation of the day, we're going to introduce Change project. And it's going to be me. I will be Becca in introducing you the project, because I want to leave the floor to Nikki, that is going to show the first findings of our research. So to guide you a bit through the project, I'm going to share my screen like very quickly for you to see. Something is not working. Polona, can you share it, please? Because I don't know why it's not working. You have it in the chat. So I will start speaking anyway. So Change project is actually a continuation of a path that started with another ENGSO-led project, CHAMP, and how it is related to sustainability specifically. Well, it's way wider than just that. It's not just focused on sustainability, but what we're doing since we find out through CHAMP project that there is a need for innovation in sports club, but sometimes the resources are, very often the resources are missing. We're trying to focus on which are the priorities of the sports club, and trying to find and sport organization and sports federation, and trying to find a way for supporting them. So Polona, you can change a bit again. Go on. Okay, so we also invite you to visit the Change website, which is really reachable through the ENGSO website, with us in our journey. It's 11 partners from 9 different countries, and it's very different partners, because some of them are more focused on the research, so our academic partners. Other are more focused on the expertise that we're going to let's say, are supporting the research, but also they're going to support us in creating the tools for this sport organization, sport federation, and sport clubs that we're trying to support. And then, of course, we have the connection with the sport itself, so sport organization are part of this. We find out that, of course, it was crucial for us to have different expertise to try to touch all the problems and the issues that could be find out through this project. So let's change the slide, please. As I said, it comes from CHAMP. CHAMP was a project that ended in 2021. I'll not spend much time to talk about this, because we want to focus on change now, but it's important, and you can find out all the results of this CHAMP project on the website, and also the online course that came out of that project. The important thing to mention in the CHAMP section is that some of the results that we found out is that, well, of course, the sport world in general is struggling to find some time and resources to create innovative way to work. Most of them are voluntary-based work, but sometimes the volunteers are so, let's say, overwhelmed. They have different roles, and it's very different, and it's very difficult for them to, you know, support the club in the best way. So, in general, while we are focused on everyday challenges, there is not much space to work on innovation. So here's why. Colonna, you can change the slide. So here's why we decided to the Change project to try to support and improve good governance in sport. How? We are going to, let's say, we always say this sentence, we're not going to try to reinvent the wheel. There is so much stuff out there that it's already working. It can be implemented in the sports club, in the sport organization, in the sports federation. So what we're doing through Change, and here's why there's also the presence of our experts, is to put all these resources together and put them in a nice form of a toolkit, which will be an interactive toolkit. It's not just a PDF manual, but we're trying to make it, you know, accessible. And through this toolkit and resources, we're going to try to support the sports world. Change of slide, please. So how are we doing that? It's a very wide and complicated project, but we already started to have some concrete results. How did we do that? So as I told you, there is a different kind of partners involved in this project, and some of them, which are the connection with the sports world, hosted some workshops and put together some data. So through this data, we try to you know, to study what was the results of this workshop and to try to elaborate a result that could give back what we learned through the workshop and data collection. So we are presenting this today because, of course, some of this data are related to sustainability, and we just closed the first let's say, result of the Change project, the most concrete that we have until now, which is the Change research, the first part. The findings are very interesting. We invite you to read them on the website, but most importantly, we invite you to stay a couple of minutes more with us so Nikki can introduce them to you, and we can share with you what we find out through our workshop and through our conversation with the sports club and sport organization. So I leave the floor to Nikki, which is with me and Lovisa Broms coordinating the Change project. And special role is, of course, because she's a researcher, so she is connected to the research work and to the collection of data. So she's the best person to introduce the first findings of the Change project. So Nikki, I will leave the floor to you.
Thank you, Alessia, and thank you everyone for joining us today. So just to highlight, if we can focus on the slides that talk about the background, please. It's on the... Yes, so the premise of this research, first of all, we started with the background of recognizing that sport is widely accepted and assumed from governments and international and national foreign stakeholders, that actually sport can be used as a tool to promote and achieve wider objectives related to social inclusion, economic and social and environmental challenges. However, regardless of that, the organized grassroots sports sector, where is our focus, has its main priority to organize sport competitions and activities, and therefore it's also faced with severe challenges that hinder their ability to actually promote and focus on achieving such wider objectives. One of these challenges is the declining membership rates and also increased competition from alternative providers to provide opportunities for sport. Also, the reduced levels of physical activity among adolescents, the difficulties in recruiting and retaining volunteers, but also recruiting and retaining a diverse pool of volunteers. We have seen that they are quite homogeneous across different countries in terms of their socio-demographic characteristics, and also limited resources in terms of facilities and finances in order to run their day-to-day operations. As such, sport organizations struggle to find new, sustainable, inclusive, and innovative ways to work. And with this background, please, if we focus on the next slide, please. The objectives of the research are to, first of all, through the research from... Sorry, through the research that was organized by researchers from Malmö University, and also the results from the workshops that were collated by Malmö University researchers. We gathered data in order to answer questions about what challenges the grassroots sport movements facing today, and whether and to what extent grassroots sport organizations are equipped to handle the challenges, and whether they are change ready, and how we can interpret and understand the results. So these first workshops were organized by Malmö University and the National Olympic Committee of Denmark, and also in the European Association for Sport Management Conference, and also from UFEC. And also we have some further workshops that have taken place or are about to take place soon from the World Snowboard Federation and Opus Italia and LSFP. So in terms of, if we go to the next slide, please. Some of the contextual background, first of all, is that research has identified that since the introduction of the European Sports Charter and most recently the Code of Sports Ethics that all Council of Europe member states have ratified, it has been identified that all sport clubs in Europe and sports in general have to promote inclusion strategies in sport and to promote sports for hard-to-reach groups. However, despite these ambitious challenges and these policy targets and frameworks, there is some contextual differences, and sport policies within Europe differ between country to country. So that means that sport clubs have structural possibilities to work from different governance structures, which makes a one-size-fits-all model not very easy for everyone to apply. And if we go to the next slide, please. So in terms of the literature review, the key challenges that were identified could be summarized into three overarching themes: managerial challenges, which also relates to dealing with the day-to-day solutions for sport organizations, and also legitimacy challenges, which again, it's about what is relevant for sport stakeholders and what, for example, sport the wider communities recognize as sports role. So that means that there is a lack of congruence there in terms of what is accepted as what sports should do and what they are actually are able to be doing. And also volunteering as one of the key challenges, which is, as we said, the lack of volunteers and also the lack of diversity in the volunteering sector in terms of sport clubs. Can we go to the next slide, please? And in terms of the workshops that we also used to inform the literature review, we actually tried to take some input from different experts and different stakeholders in the European grassroots sports sector. So these 3 workshops, as we said before, were organized in different locations with partly different target groups. Some of them were researchers, some of them were students of sport management, and also participants and stakeholders that represented international and national sport organizations and sport clubs. So in this participant pool, we identified that one common characteristic was, despite of these partial differences, they all had experience in being participants or members or running a sports club in the past. And we also wanted to see whether our literature review results match the everyday realities of sport clubs, organizations, and federations. And in the next slide, so this is just the structure of the workshops to give you some highlight of the questions that were posed. Most of them were similar. However, the last one, the ESAM one, was a bit different because we had only 2 hours to run the workshop. So we didn't include the final question, which was about what are the strengths and superpowers of sport and what a desirable future look like. And if we move on to the next slide, please. So in terms of the first findings, in terms of the 3 workshops to identify what are the commonalities and the key issues that emerge. So we can see that despite these contextual differences and despite the partial different target groups, there are some commonalities and some recurring themes related to the key challenges experienced by the participants. And the first one, of course, relates to the limited resources and competence to operate and develop. And this broadly encompasses the lack of facilities, volunteers, and funding. And also the second one, again, relates to the legitimacy aspect, as we have seen the literature review, which means to how to make sport clubs inclusive, accessible, and relevant to more people. And finally, issues with concerning sport governance and accepting and promoting the social role of a sport club. And finally, volunteering, how to make sure that clubs could recruit more volunteers, but also retain these volunteers in their auspices. In terms of the following slide, please. After identifying all these different challenges, participants subsequently had to identify and discuss obstacles that are standing in the way of them tackling those challenges. And this actually reflects the readiness to change, or rather the lack of readiness to change. So with this particular part of the workshops, it became apparent that the resource situation seems to be one of the key obstacles. And this resource situation relates to different aspects. And some of these relate to lack of human resources, both volunteers and professionals. Also, the hierarchical structure and traditional structure of sports, which sometimes does not allow for change, does not allow for quick decisions, independence and innovation, as well as diversity in decision making. And finally, lack of capacity is more than money, which again suggests that it is not just the financial situation that is a concern for clubs, but also that there is a lack of knowledge transfer between the top level organizations filtering down to grassroots sport clubs to enable them to innovate and become more flexible and adaptable to the needs of today's society. And in the next slide, please. Also, we have seen in these 2 workshops that they included the strengths and the desired future for the grassroots sports movement. what they have highlighted is that the results, again, are quite similar, and they are quite recognizing the volunteer nature of the sports sector, of the grassroots sports sector, as one of its key strengths, because it brings social capital and a diverse pool of skills, and also they recognize the opportunity for sport to address wider issues, promote social inclusion and healthy lifestyle. But also they pointed towards the opportunities that emerged in recent years to capitalize on the innovative solutions from the pandemic and to adopt more flexible solutions. So as we will see in the next slide, I will discuss this gap, as it's called here. First of all, what we have seen from the results from the research overview and workshop, all these support the hypothesis that we had in mind when we started the Change project, is that there are many different challenges, many varied challenges that the grassroots sports sector in the EU faces today. However, it is also clear from these challenges that there are different perspectives and different ideas on what the priorities are between the different stakeholders that took part in this research. And here our primary impression was that representatives of international or national federations, first of all, accentuate broader social challenges for sport, while at the same time representatives of grassroots sport emphasize the practical and everyday problems for local clubs. And this is not just differences on how they start their perspectives and their starting points in their operational environments, but it's also it is because of the rational myths and assumptions about sports' role in society, which sometimes do not correspond to real conditions. So what that means is that there is an opportunity, and also there is a challenge for the Change project to actually suggest that there is this gap in terms of the perspective from different type of stakeholders in the sport sector. And in order to, as a prerequisite to promote change, readiness and innovation in grassroots sport, we need to agree with the different actors of the sports sector on the challenges that they face. So if there is a gap in these perceived realities, we have to find a ways to bridge this gap. And finally, in terms of the conclusions, as generally we have seen in this research, the results of this literature review and the workshops point towards this gap between what society believes sports' role is in helping to tackle these wider social objectives and challenges, and what people in the ground, those that run grassroots sports, identify as its priorities. Also, in particular, it was identified that there is a gap between all these strategies and visions developed at the national level, and at the same time, the need for grassroots sports and its stakeholders to find solutions and hands-on strategies and practices in order to reach a common ground. Also, it is important to mention that the key topics that we focus on change, digitalization, sustainability, along with inclusion, were hardly mentioned in these workshops in particular, which perhaps show that these are not recognized or perhaps they don't see these issues as priorities, clubs. And perhaps this is one of the key issues that might affect their long-term sustainability and also their diversity on offer and how they are able to change in terms of the innovation readiness. So this was sustainability particularly was mentioned from the recent workshop that we haven't integrated yet in the research from the World Snowboard Federation, that actually for them, especially environmental sustainability is quite important, especially the lack of snow will affect their sustainability as an organization and as a sporting discipline as well. So you can see that different stakeholders, depending on the discipline, have different perspectives. And therefore, for us in Change, bridging these gaps is a priority in order to help with this project to equip grassroots sport to develop and unite all this type of resources in an efficient and sustainable way in order to achieve greater inclusion, engagement, relevance, and sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nikki. From the change point of view, I think this webinar was great also for us to collect some results from experts and people working in the field of sustainability. And of course, it's going to be extra useful for all the resources and the option that we will give to sports club, federation, and organization. So if we don't have questions for Nikki or for Polona that just presented the two projects, two of many projects we are working on in ENGSO about sustainability. I think we can close the webinar today, and I want to thank you so much, all the speakers, for bringing their expertise and their knowledge and so many information in the sustainability world. We will publish the webinar online on Change website, on ENGSO website, so you can find everything that was said today on our website. Also, we will send you all the resources that were used today, so all the presentation and everything that was useful and sent in the chat as well. Thank you all so much for coming and for staying until the end. For the brave people that stayed until the end, we hope it's going to be useful in your the content of today are going to be useful in your everyday work. Thanks again, and keep following our social media for future webinars on sustainability, but not always.
Thank you.